Craig Muckler's. We watched Craig Muckler's Microwave Massacre. Filmed in '78 but not released until '83, this horror comedy exploitation cult classic was made for about $80,000. The movie stars Jackie Vernon as Donald, a dejected construction worker that suffers his wife cuisine cooking through the beginning of the movie, ultimately killing and accidentally eating her, developing a taste for human flesh.
That about sums it up. We talked a couple things in that. We talked a little bit about revenue, but I did want to bring up one thing about Jackie Vernon. So this was his last movie, but what you kids might remember him from, Frosty the fucking Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman.
That is unbelievable.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
I can't believe it.
In fact, my girl is so ugly, I take her with me every place I go. It's better than kissing her goodbye.
So Microwave Massacre was released in 1983. It had a budget of, like you said, $80,000. They never released the revenue, but we had the privilege of watching a commentary of this movie.
Yeah.
And he had nothing but good things to say about how much money he made on this
It's still making money.
Still making money.
It made money off us.
Yep, exactly. No, but this movie was great. There was some great scenes in this. The whole premise of the movie is about his wife's terrible cooking.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is the general sentiment on the construction site.
But you know what? He's kind of an asshole because what it shows of his wife, May, is that he comes home. She's a loving wife. She always has like a nice home-cooked dinner for him, something different every night. And she even like comes on to him during dinner. And he just rejects her and he just complains the whole time.
Yeah.
Some men, you should know, still find me attractive.
How should I know them? I didn't attend the Braille Institute.
So I'm finding Jackie Vernon hard to like in this movie.
Yeah, well, she's kind of a bitch, too. I mean, yes, she does keep the house tidy and has nice food for him, but as soon as he walks in the door, she's talking about how much of a pig he is.
What do you think you're doing coming home drunk and asking for a peasant sandwich when I've slaved over that microwave all afternoon?
And come home drunk. I've been drunk all day.
You know what? To be fair, he did have his disgusting construction clothes on.
That is true. And I don't think he ever changed out of them the whole movie.
He even took the vacuum bag and just danced around the living room, throwing the vacuum bag all over the living room.
Exactly. So maybe they both deserve a little bit. The deserve it scale is kind of level.
Okay. They're both a product of their own environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's you.
You expecting someone from the health department, maybe?
Any man would do.
Jesus. She went from happy as shit to terrible.
Well, what really pissed him off was he came home, there was a nice home-cooked meal. He didn't want it. He said that, if you weren't a cook, you could be an interior decorator because the food matches the furniture. He spits on the plate, and then she takes the plate and puts it on his head. It really sets him off. He breaks the fourth wall, looks at the camera, and then goes on a rampage.
But as we find later in the movie, just to kind of fast forward a little bit, we find that their struggles lead to an ultimate demise for May.
Yes.
When Donald just grabs a pepper grinder and clubs her over the head with it, which is amazing because in the middle of his beating, he sprinkles a little on his hand, throws it over his shoulder for
salt.
good luck.
And I'm inclined to believe that at this point, it's essentially a prototype for American Psycho.
Yeah.
Where you don't know if it's a dream or not, or if it's a delusion or not.
Yeah.
Is in the microwave?
So after he kills May, he cuts her up, and he's meaning to hide her in the freezer. Wraps her up in tinfoil, hides her in the freezer, takes out a bunch of their old food, throws it in the trash, and then happens to get one of her limbs in the trash can. And after his whole debacle, he wanted to just sit down on his couch and have a bite to eat. So he just grabbed one of the pieces of food out of the trash.
His ribs.
Happened to be, it looked like ribs. I mean, even when he was eating
sandwich.
it. But it happened to be May's arm. Took a few bites of it and was like, holy shit, this is delicious. Starts feeding it to his friends. Next thing you know, he's a cannibal.
They all loved it, and they were too. They were unknowing cannibals. It's like the rib sandwich at Beverage Mart. He does go to the doctor. The doctor tells him that, the microwave is interfering with your pacemaker, but you're in better shape now than you've ever been.
Yeah.
And then he microwaves another woman, and he dies.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
How would you describe Donald's character arc in this movie?
How to describe his arc? I'd say a tragic man who has been oppressed in his normal day-to-day life.
Yes. He just wants a bologna and cheese.
Just wants a bologna and cheese. And then he bends the rules to get what he wants and ultimately pays for it in the end.
Yes.
Is that the...
It leads to his untimely end. He's a very healthy, fit man.
Yeah.
He went before his time. So Jackie Vernon's character goes through the movie killing women and eating them, feeding them to his friends at the construction site. There's really not a whole lot more plot than that. So some fun trivia. Robert Burns was the art director on this movie. He also was art director on Hills Have Eyes, Reanimator, which is one of my absolute most favorite horror movies or movies, period. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was the art director for that with all of the bones in the house, the whole scene, all of that stuff. It was amazing.
Yeah.
He also plays the bum in this movie who finds a hand in the garbage.
Exactly. What the fuck, bro? What is this?
So let's talk about our favorite moments
from
this movie.
What do you say? We'll do like 2 each?
I'll do one and you do one, and then I'll do one and you do one.
Cool.
Do you want me to go first? I guess I literally just said that.
Yeah.
My first favorite moment from this film is Napoleon, the dog. That is the most ridiculous looking dog I've ever seen.
Yeah.
His tongue is hanging out the side of his head. And when he is looking for May after she has been killed, he howls like a werewolf.
What are you doing, doggy?
And no one seems to have a problem with it, even though he has neighbors that have sex right next door, like within
That's
10
a whole
feet.
other thing.
Napoleon, she had to call him. I'm gonna kick him in his Bonaparte.
So I'd say a favorite part of mine is when he's in the conversation with his shrink and he's sitting on the couch and he's just divulging all this information. Camera pans out and it's literally just the doctor dead asleep on the couch with his mouth wide open, and Donald is just spewing all this information about like
He's
how
confessing.
confessing everything, and like going into gruesome detail about how it happened to him and how he got into this. And once he finally blurts out, "I've eaten them after I have sex with them," Doctor wakes up and he's like, "Well, it sounds like a normal case of whatever.
You're fine.
Yeah, you're free to go." And Donald's like, "I really don't feel like that. I have sex with them and then I eat them." And he's like, "Oh, good for you. You go down on them? You must get a lot of love from the ladies with that."
Good. My next favorite moment is when Donald goes to Jack in the Box with his construction crew buddies and orders food. But he doesn't order food. He puts in this crazy, ridiculous order.
Let down your hair, unbutton your blouse, hike up your skirt, stick out your tongue, and a Coke.
And then they laugh and they drive away, and the lady's standing there with the exact perfect order, and she's like, "Where are you going?"
Yep, and she has her tongue fully out as they're driving by with her shit. I'd have to say my most favorite part is when this smoking hot girl just like walks into a construction site. There's a perfect cutout size for a woman to walk in, and she not only just waltzes into a hard hat area, she's wearing high heels,
Yes.
like no shorts, basically, just the full butt cheeks, and like a halter top. And she walks in, and immediately construction workers are following her, flirting with her, like putting their hats on her butt, like, you want to feel something else hard, and all this crazy shit. And she just falls right into it.
Yeah, how do they choose?
Bam, dude, he's a closer. To get away from the attempt from Donald's buddy, she asks about the jacked guy that's off in the corner.
Yes.
And Donald's buddy like starts to glow. He's really excited. He's like, "You want me to introduce you to him?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, exactly. That's what I want." So he walks her over, and she immediately grabs his shoulder to get his attention, and he like has a germaphobe freak out.
Don't do that, you son of a bitch.
That guy is jacked,
He's
and he
huge.
can lift a steel I-beam with an overhand grip.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like straight. Oh, I don't even know how to monkey claw, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
it's
awesome.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say my favorite part of the movie is this news report that tries to bleep curse words, and they miss the curse words every single time.
A few years ago, there was a celebrated heist in England, which no prick could solve. You mean dick? Semantics. Are we going to get hung up on that or continue with this horse shit?
Jesus. Yeah, and it was not only the bleeps, it was going over to Donald, showing him watching the TV, and he's like in full-blown shock. The TV's like super bright. It's like a studio light. It shined right on his face. Another favorite of mine, I'd say, is the freezer snafu, which we had talked about a little bit in the synopsis. So Donald is disposing of his wife, wraps a bunch of stuff in tinfoil, a bunch of her body parts, and is starting to pack in the freezer, pulling out all the other food, which turns into the mishap that leads to this whole thing.
Yeah.
But in the midst of this, he's pulling out like what looked like little pieces, like just chunks that he was sliding into the freezer. He had the head, of course, that wasn't wrapped up.
Yes.
But there was one body part that was wrapped up, which we found out was an arm. But when he originally pulls it out, it looks like a giant cock. And then he tries to fit it into the fridge. You then realize it's an arm. But that first shot, you're like, wait a minute, what is that body part? And I think they did that on purpose. But I'd have to say that got me pretty good.
That was your favorite part?
One of my favorites.
Is a tinfoil cock?
Yeah.
You must really love Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Sheet metal. I need sheet metal. I can't have tinfoil.
A lot of great moments in this movie. A couple other things I loved. Anybody who was drinking in this movie was really authentic, which leads me to believe that they were drunk.
Yep.
You gotta care, Sam. What kind of beer tender are you? That's Charlie Farrell.
Really good drunk actors in this movie. Another part I loved, but it doesn't really deserve to be in my top moments of the film, was when Jackie Vernon asks the hardware guy for a 6-foot cookie sheet.
Yeah.
That hardware store owner was hilarious.
Yeah.
You wouldn't happen to have any 6-foot cookie sheets, would you?
No, sir, we're fresh out of that popular size.
All right, so would you classify this as a slasher?
Whew. I don't know. They say black comedy in the Wikipedia, which is not. Well, they categorize it as a horror comedy.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I guess you could classify it as that because he does take down a couple people, but you don't actually see the act of murder except for one time.
Well, they do show more than one. They show May's murder.
Yeah.
It was kind of off frame. Then they show the prostitute from the bar. He suffocates her with a pillow.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they show the woman where they spread mayonnaise on her and put a slice of bread on her.
Oh, okay. Was she? I thought she was dead by then. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Listen to it again.
Yeah.
And then they show a woman where he's just dragging like a knife down
across her chest. Yeah.
down the middle of her.
Yeah.
So that might be 4, unless he's dreaming.
Yeah. Unless he's dreaming. That's true.
But we'll never know. It's an American Psycho movie.
Yeah.
American Psycho ripped this movie off.
Yeah. And they did it much worse.
Is this just pretty much American Psycho?
I guess so. It seems a lot like it, except he doesn't care about himself at all.
You're right. He's the opposite. What, they make him a yuppie in New York? He was a construction worker. I can't believe
he's
it.
a construction worker in some hodunk town.
I'd be so mad. American Psycho is the worst remake of Microwave Massacre.
Yeah. And Christian Bale, I mean, when's the last movie he's been good in?
He couldn't even gain weight to play the part of Donald.
That's a good one. I like that.
And that leads into a theory of mine. At the end of the movie, Donald dies.
Yep.
And his friends come in because they're planning to go out in the town, and they find him dead on the floor. The next scene is showing just people kind of ransacking the house.
Yeah.
I guess
like
maybe
movers.
they're moving stuff out or
Yeah.
something. One of them finds May's sister in the closet. And he's just like, hey, come get a look at this.
Hey, Charlie, come here. You got to see this.
With an old moldy sandwich.
She's
stuck to
been
her
in there
mouth.
so long, the bread is moldy. That's stuck in her mouth. And one of the movers opens the door of the microwave. It shows a sticker that says it may interfere with pacemakers. The other guy pulls out the wire. He's like, hey, look at this. It was wired up. Anybody with a pacemaker, would have been dead. So it was intentionally wired up wrong. It leads you to believe that May sabotaged the installation of the microwave in order to kill Jackie Vernon by interfering with his pacemaker purposefully.
Yeah. Maybe that was what was driving Donald crazy and like making him want just a sandwich and kill his wife.
Yes.
And, it's a pretty good theory.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Much like Christmas Vacation, Cousin Eddie has a plate in his head, and the microwave makes him forget who he is and piss his pants.
But here, if this gets dented, then my hair just ain't gonna look right.
It sets Jackie Vernon off to go kill women and eat them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying look into it.
I'd say it's case closed.
Oh, you won't have to look for that, you moron, because I'll kill you first.
I don't really have anything else. What were we going to end this with? Jesus.
I don't know if we want to bring it up just on this episode and say like the movies we're doing in this season are all Severn films.
Are they? I don't want to commit myself to that.
Yeah.
Arrow films, though.
Arrow films. Yeah. Do you want me to take over? I know you've been talking a lot.
What's that supposed to fucking mean?
Yeah, right. We're not friends, though. So there's a couple ways that you can watch this movie. We actually found it through Arrow's new release, and they had a commentary that was built into it. We watched it both ways. The commentary is insightful. It has a couple of funny snippets about it. Also has, it has the director just being an ass and talking up this movie quite a bit.
Writer-producer.
Writer-producer.
Yes.
There we go. As other people had mentioned in his commentary, it was a work of art. It was a Picasso.
Yeah, they wouldn't put it. They won't put it on the graphs because it would make everything else be.
Yeah, it would sync everything. He talked about Friday the 13th. He talked about Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yes.
like all Wes Craven's hits. He talked about how Sleepaway Camp was like not heard of. Nobody knows about it, but Microwave Massacre is the next Picasso.
Selling, the kids are buying it. College kids are buying it. Becoming a cult thing, and they're writing Microwave too because this is doing so well. It's doing well in the cassette tapes.
I've been dying to see this movie since I was a little kid.
Yeah, I bet. It's also found on Shudder, so if you do have a subscription to them, you don't have to go out and pick up the movie, but we'll leave links to both of those. We hope you enjoy it. It's really good.
I want to say that this movie is 76 minutes long, so just watch it.
Yeah.